What if Alolan Raichu was in Gen 1 OU? Now this is a little bit more different than regular Raichu. One would say he gets a bit of an improvement. Maybe not really, because if you actually look here, Raichu is in freaking PU in Gen 7. And somehow, Alolan Raticate is only barely better than regular Raticate. That's besides the point. Because I put these guys in Gen 1 OU for a reason. Sometimes having a very different metagame with different Pokemon, and way more importantly, different mechanics, can drastically change how good a Pokemon is. And Raichu here, he gets the same benefit as regular Raichu, aka can use Surf exactly. But everything else is just perfect. It has the Psychic typing, which not only is that just great for Gen 1, but Psychic itself has a much higher chance to lower Special, I believe. I believe in other gens, I don't think it's 30% still. Isn't it like a 20% or even just a 10% chance to lower Special Defense? Here, it's 33%. And you're not just lowering Special Defense, you're also lowering Special Attack, because it's just a special stat. Along with that, you have Stab Electric moves, which is just fantastic. Electric is a great type in Gen 1. And with Surf, you threaten Rhydon. That's even better, I would say. And along with that, Paralysis is a lot stronger in this gen, because you just have a 25% chance of your opponent not doing anything for that turn. And on top of all of that, if all of that was not enough to make Raichu great, it even has base 110 speed. That is the exact same speed stat as both Tauros and Gengar. So, having a speed type with those two is already great. It means Gengar probably just fears you altogether. Because even if Hypnosis might hit, it might not even hit first. It might get paralyzed, or it might get hit with Psychic, have Special lowered, or get crit in O-Code. So Gengar just needs to switch out against you all the time. And then Tauros, you might not be faster, just like Starmie or Zamar, but Tauros still needs to fear you either way, because if Tauros gets paralyzed, it's gonna suck. And if Tauros doesn't get a crit Earthquake, suddenly, you're probably gonna take a lot of damage from Thunderbolt or Psychic, which Raichu probably won't survive. However, what will happen is Tauros will, at best, take significant damage, which makes the Tauros mirror a lot easier, or at worst, gets hit with a special drop, or full paralysis. Not gonna end well for him. Also, just in general, that gives you a 21% chance to crit, which is fantastic. I think this is gonna be a relatively short video, because lately, when I've been making these videos, I try to make more for different outcomes, like what if Tauros specs in Fire Blast, what if Snorlax uses Amnesia, what if Chansey has Reflect, etc. But I didn't need to do that for this video. I feel like the Snorlax matchup, as we'll see in a little bit, never changes. Tauros already has Earthquake, so it already has the perfect coverage. And most of the other Pokemon go about as well as you would expect them to, and I don't think there's many other ways to really show the matchup. So that's good for me. It means that it's nice having a short video every once in a while. But let's get on to it. Starting off with the boy himself, Tauros. I just went over everything about this matchup, so I guess now you just get to see it in action. If Tauros gets a crit, that's very unfortunate. But other than that, Raichu's in a pretty good spot, because Paralysis, Tauros hates. But you know what? I think Tauros might hit a crit a little bit more. And by the way, Raichu does have base 95 special attack, which is the exact same as Jinx, so that's already pretty hitty hard. You don't have a Blizzard that you can use, which is unfortunate. And unfortunately, because it's Gen 1 custom games, you still have to use your special defense. So you're not as tanky as Jinx, especially. But I think it's a very fair trade, I would say. And I honestly don't think it matters what set Snorlax is using. It's bulky enough to where it doesn't care about paralysis. Earthquake hits really hard. Obviously, Amnesia is terrifying. Maybe Raichu can get 2 crits, but I wouldn't risk it. And to be honest, even if it's just using Body Slam or Hyper Beam, that alone is probably enough to beat Raichu. I'm gonna call this a bad matchup, even though Raichu can potentially get some crits. I just don't think it's worth it. Snorlax is just too risky for how good your Raichu is. And Chansey, I don't have to say anything about this matchup. It's just Starmie and Alakazam 3.0. You paralyze each other. Raichu tries to go for special drops. Chansey tries to go for Seismic Toss. There was nothing to really add here. One thing I will say though is that I think Alolan Raichu has potential to become the new best lead in the game. Because Raichu scares off Gengar, scares off Starmie, might lose to lead Exeggutor and Chansey, but that's probably fine. And lead Jinx we'll see in a little bit. But the fact that you're faster and can paralyze Jinx means that you can accomplish something, at the very least. And for Zam, it's kind of the same thing with Chansey, except it's a little bit more in your favor. And that's because, at least with Zam, if you get a special drop with Psychic, you just need 1 really. And with 1, not only are you faster than Zam, but way more importantly, you do a lot more damage. Which could do a very good job putting the scale in your favor. It still could go either way, because even with special drops, Seismic Toss does very, very consistent damage. And with both of you being paralyzed, it can just go either way. Because paralysis takes no or it spares no one in Gen 1 basically. I was going to say takes no prisoners, but I'm not sure if that even makes any sense. I have no idea. It's 11:37. Cloyster, yeah, it can blow up. That's it. Moving on, I guess. Now, Exeggutor, did he even bother using Sweet Powder? Because I feel like it should just be very obvious who wins this. Because with Psychic and Thunderbolt, Exeggutor resists both of your stabs, and resists Surf too. So there's nothing you can really do. Even if Exeggutor doesn't have Double Edge, I'm putting my money on Exeggutor most times winning a Psychic War. I suppose then, Raichu would be using Thunder Wave, so maybe it can get more turns in. But even then, like, Exeggutor will probably be wasting so many resources off your Alolan Raichu. And this is even ignoring Stun Spore and especially Sweet Powder. I don't think it matters what you do, I think it's just unwinnable. Unless Exeggutor gets paralyzed 3 times in a row and then misses 2 Sweet Powders in a row. Which happened in the first replay I made, but I decided not to show it to you guys, as it's not very accurate. And I guess Gengar going for Nightshade isn't very accurate either. But I do not think there's worth showing you him trying to go for Hypnosis, because you would just never go for it. There was way too much to risk there. It's a 50% chance you hit first in the first place, and then after that, you have a 40% chance to miss. And then Raichu has a 21% chance to get a crit, or paralyze you. Which, if Gengar's paralyzed, it might as well have been crit. So just a great matchup for Alolan Raichu overall. Which is funny, because Alolan Raichu is a little pancake lover. Not sure why he got Psychic Powers in the first place. And then with Jolteon can theoretically do the same thing it does to Zapdos. Wall it out and then use Rest. But the issue is that Psychic is way more threatening, because not only is Jolteon not neutral to it, but if you get a special drop, suddenly Jolteon is taking so much damage. I'm going to put this in could go either way, which might sound weird, but I think no matter what, the Jolteon is very annoying to Alolan Raichu. And Raichu really hates being paralyzed. So that's kind of like one of its main weaknesses. And no Pokemon is better in the game at spreading paralysis than Jolteon, in my opinion. Outside of maybe Starmie, but I don't think so. Didn't bother using Lovely Kiss, because I figured this is pretty interesting either way. And even without Sleep, Jinx can be a big threat, since as you can see there, Wizard is a 3-hit KO basically. Almost a 2-hit KO. And without a crit, I believe Thunderbolt does... I think it's close to like a third. It does decent damage. And obviously, it has a higher crit rate than Jinx. But Jinx with Blizzard just hits harder. It can maybe run sleep a weapon kiss on you. Not to mention, you can get a freeze. So, could go either way. And I don't even know who has it better off. Because even though Jinx hits harder, Alolan Raichu is still on the wave. And then Rhydon. Unlike regular Raichu, who I believe doesn't always have a guaranteed KO. Or it might be the same for both of them, and Raichu got lucky here. But I'm pretty sure regular Raichu can't actually OHKO Rhydon, if I remember correctly. So this is huge. But even if like it is a damage range still, you have a much better crit rate. So I feel like Rhydon is way more scared to try his luck against you than against regular Raichu. And even regular Raichu, it doesn't even bother trying to fight, I don't think. I could be wrong. I don't know, I don't see Raichu in OU for obvious reasons. What do I even say here? I guess without a crit when amnesia, you could technically survive too, but I don't think that's even that interesting. Slowbro can use Thunder Wave, I guess? But why would you do that? You wouldn't. Moving on. Yeah, there's not very many ways I can say Raichu is good against the water types. Starmie's the only one where I can maybe say something interesting, because it's actually faster than Raichu, and while Raichu doesn't care too much about Thunderbolt or Psychic, Blizzard can always get a crit. So it's still a great matchup for Raichu, I would say. But once again, Raichu does really hate Paralysis. So if Raichu isn't being used as a early game Pokemon, as a late game cleaner, it seems pretty good as well. But to be honest, even with the Psychic typing, I'd probably prefer Zapdos as my late game cleaner. Just because Zapdos can hit on the physical and special side. Speaking of which, why don't we talk about him? Last but not least, we got Zapdos. And Alolan Raichu can basically do Jolteon's job, except it doesn't need to use Rest to stall out the Zapdos. With Psychic, you can lower Special and seriously threaten it. And you're already faster than Zapdos anyways, so it's not even like Jolteon's speed is a huge, benefit here. I still think Jolteon has a place in the meta, but nowhere near as good, because Alolan Raichu is just a lot better. Here's the tier list, and I don't think Alolan Raichu is better than Zapdos, because I feel like Alolan Raichu is just a little bit too frail in some areas, but still pretty good. Although there's no way that Light Ball would work on Raichu, or Alolan Raichu, in Gen 2. So as far as I'm concerned, whether it be the anime, or the manga, or just, as sad as it may sound, just actual competitive viability, Pikachu is just always better. So maybe that sucks, or maybe you think that's cool. I don't know. I think Raichu should be allowed to use Light Ball, cause is there any gen where Raichu having Light Ball would actually be too much for the meta to handle? Please let me know if that's possible in the comments, but I seriously doubt it. But until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.